Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today at the second Smart Dublin webinar, Innovating for Impact of 2026. This is the second in a six-part series of webinars where we will introduce the smart city concept and explain how cities across the globe are embracing new and emerging technology to deliver smarter local services. That's my 2-minute alarm. I will be sharing the slides and recording afterwards, and we will be taking questions at the end for a Q&A. Please use the chat section to enter the questions or the Q&A section for the panelists, and at the very end of the presentation, I'll read out the questions for the panelists to answer. Just a very quick introduction from me. For those of you who don't know me, my name's David Onisu. I'm a communications graduate here at Smart Dublin. Been in the role for about 8 months now, I think. And I worked alongside Susie Healy, who set up and hosted the first webinar, but has since left her role at Smart Dublin. So I'll hand over to Alan now. Alan is the Smart Dublin Regional Manager working across all 4 Dublin councils, exploring how emerging technology can transform public services. So Alan, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Morning, everybody, and again, a big thank you to the various comms people across each of the Dublin councils that have been promoting this session, and that's why we have 89 people on the call. So that's fantastic to see. The numbers are increasing compared to the first session we did. So just to highlight again, Smart Dublin is working across the 4 Dublin councils. So on this call, we have staff from all 4 councils, which is fantastic. If you go to the next slide, please, Dave. Today, we've got a couple of guest speakers. So Nicola Graham is Smart City Programme Manager with Dublin Council, and we've got Sean Fox, Health and Safety Officer with South Dublin County Council. So the next 45 minutes or so is in 3 parts. Today we're going to zoom in on connectivity and Internet of Things. So I'll try and demystify that for people for the first bit. And then I'll hand over to Nicola and then Sean, and they're going to deep dive into a project around Ring Boys or Life Boys as to how we got that project over the line. Next slide, please, David. So the objectives of today, and indeed all the webinar topics that we're going to do throughout the year, is to demystify the kind of terminology you're going to hear today. We want to share this with as many people as we can. This is a staff webinar, so specifically just for staff across the 4 Dublin councils. And we want to inspire people through highlighting exemplar projects. We hope that this might inspire people in other sections and to help them join the dots as to, oh, I wonder, could the same approach or the same use of the technology be applied in my section? And we'd love to then hear from those people as to, would they like to work with us or would they like to kick off a similar project? So very much getting the message out there and trying to nudge people to adopt these new ways of working. Dave, keep going. So try to summarize how we work at Smart Dublin. What you see there on the left-hand side is just an example of some of the council services that we're all familiar with. There are literally hundreds of council services as per the LGMA service catalogue. On the right-hand side is the kind of emerging technology that we're exploring at Smart Dublin. Anything from the use of drones, which is actually our next webinar in June, the use of digital twins. You can't ignore the opportunities around AI. It's coming at us in waves. So how are we going to use AI in a responsible way to transform the kind of services on the left-hand side? But today we're going to zoom in on a topic around the Internet of Things. So that's the one that's highlighted there in amber, IoT. Next slide, Dave, please. So who better to demystify what IoT is all about? Compliments to our colleagues in the Smart Balbriggan district who worked with an artist to come up with a storyboard around, well, what is IoT? So they came up with this mascot, Otti, your IoT guide. And there's a link there to the storyboards that were created, a kind of an animation, as you see here, to demystify and explain what is IoT. So it means the Internet of Things. So it's come a long way from the 1980s, for example, to literally billions of things or devices connected to the Internet. Next slide, please, Dave. So then just to take that a bit further, there you see our mascot stuck in a spider's web. The Internet of Things is a giant network of interconnected devices and technology that enables communication between devices and other services. And the storyboard in the middle there. So it typically is collecting data from a thing, from an object out in the real world, outside the walls of the council, in our case, providing that data back and then allowing somebody to take an action or do something with it. So the example given there is GPS location. Maybe think Google Maps for your journey planning is a good, well-known use case. So over on the right-hand side, simply put, it's a physical smart device like a television or traffic monitoring sensor that's been given these commuting capabilities. And as you can imagine, there's going to be more and more of things connected to the internet in innovative ways as the years go on. Keep going, Dave. So how does that translate into local government speak and local government services? So I've got 5 examples as to how this kind of technology has been applied and how it's adding value. And throughout the next few slides, just imagine if the thing, the object that's now connected to the internet could talk. What kind of message is being given back to the people that deliver that particular service? So simple example around smart bins, there's hundreds of these deployed around Dún Laoghaire and Dublin City Council, for example, and a simple message is going back, I'm full, please empty me. There's other kinds of messages that could go back, but imagine this is the kind of communication that's going back. And that's fine, but it's got to be then presented to the service owner, the people that are managing the work schedule around bins in a informative way. So hence building a dashboard, a geospatial presentation of the location of the bins, and are they full, are they empty, are they filling up, etc., is that kind of gathering the data and presenting it in a way that people can make decisions. So that's a good example in the waste management space. Keep going, Dave. To move into mobility, here we have an example from Dún Laoghaire. So there's been installations of sensors into accessible parking bays in Dún Laoghaire, as well as Dublin City Council, and I believe South Dublin have just completed installations as well. Again, imagine if this sensor could talk. It would say something like, I'm free at the moment, or I'm actually occupied. And again, what you see on the image there is from an app that was developed in conjunction with the installation of these sensors as to telling people with mobility issues, in particular the Disabled Driving Association, that kind of cohort is really interested in this information to help plan their journey. So they can see via an app, okay, if I'm going to go to that location, those particular disabled parking bays are free or not. Keep going, Dave. Going into a whole other service area around surface water management. Nicola was involved in this project as well. So around gully monitoring, what you see on the left-hand side is an ask from the public as to, please tell Dublin City Council in this case, are there any gullies nearby that are at risk or are blocked, for example? That channel is still valid, but what's going to happen quite soon is a number of sensors will be deployed in optimal locations around the city center. And basically, again, if the sensor could talk, it would say something like, I'm filling up too quickly, or I'm blocked, etc. Again, probably via dashboard back to the surface water management team as to, okay, they now need to take action at that particular location. Keep going, Dave. Air quality, another fantastic example of sensors deployed, from the EPA or even managed by DCC as well. Again, if they could talk overall, air quality, I'm good, but some places need attention. And then the picture on the right is a really interesting usage of air quality sensors for the likes of the quiet school zones that are being rolled out across the region. Monitoring air quality before and after these kind of interventions is a really good way to measure the impact of the school zone projects. Keep going, Dave. Okay, and then just to highlight, those kind of previous use cases were where the sensors or the communication was from a static location. But sensors or IoT devices can move around as well. So what we have is, as everybody knows, there's a number of bike sharing schemes around the region. These also have IoT sensors that can communicate with an app, in this case, for anybody who uses a bike sharing scheme as to the real-time location, in this case, of a bleeper bike around the city centre. Next slide, please, Dave. And then the final slide from me, those use cases you've seen, and there's many others. I'd probably describe them as kind of point-to-point projects for particular teams within the councils. What we're doing right now is cataloging all these use cases as to what sensor deployments are out there. So this is a screenshot from a catalog that we're currently building. And we do see an opportunity to maybe introduce more robust, centralized oversight of these deployments. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet, but there's a call to action via this call. If you have this kind of deployment happening for your service out in the public domain, please let us know. We'd love to hear from you as to how you're using that data to transform your services. Okay, so that's a quick, hopefully demystifying the term IoT and give you a sense of how it's adding value to different council areas. Next slide, please, Dave. So now we're going to go a little bit deeper into a particular project around ring buoys. I'm going to introduce you to Nicola, who will talk us through the process, the innovation process that underpinned that project. Over to you, Nicola.
Thanks, Alan. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Nicola Graham and I lead our Smart City and Innovation programme in Dublin City Council. Next slide, please, David. So what is Dublin City Council's Innovation and Smart City programme? It's about trialling and testing new and emerging technologies to improve city services, but it's not always about the technology. It's about a smarter way of working, smarter processes, and then sharing that knowledge. Next slide, please. We use a challenge-based approach, and this project had, the challenge was identified through a community workshop in the Docklands area by Clara Hickey. And when we investigated it further, there were even more local authorities all across Ireland experiencing the same problem. So the idea was that we would collaborate together. Next slide, please. And that's the basis of the Smart Dublin model, is a collaborative model. This slide shows a number of different local authorities, national stakeholders, European stakeholders, SMEs and project collaborators that all took part in delivering this project. And the other thing we like to say is that in Dublin, we're big enough yet small enough to be able to trial and test different solutions using the city region as a test bed. And why do we do that? We want to try and address challenges that are common to everybody. And who hasn't had a challenge with public procurement? Many will say that public procurement is a barrier to innovation. Next slide, please. But for us, we think that we can de-risk through innovation. And here are just an example of some of the projects that started out as innovation projects and that have grown over time to deliver new services, new strategies, or new solutions for the organisation. Next slide, please. So why is innovative procurement important? Public procurement spend in the EU is approximately between 2 and 3 billion euro per annum every year, which is about 13% of the EU's GDP. And in Ireland, we spend between 12 and 15 billion on public procurement. Imagine what a saving of even 1% through innovative procurement would mean for the economy. Next slide, please. So when Smart Dublin started, we started out in doing a number of different partnerships with Enterprise Ireland around pre-commercial procurement processes. We collaborated with other local authorities to try and address some of the challenges that faced us all. Next slide, please. And we learned a lot. We had some companies that went on to get additional EU funding. It gave us more information, as Alan mentioned earlier on, the gully monitoring project. We were able to co-design the solution. We were able to get the specifications we needed for further tender, and that project has been rolled out now, and as it's available to all 4 local authorities to be able to draw down on. And we also found that in some cases it allowed us to ask questions that we needed to further investigate, so in terms of data. Next slide, please. But we did find that there was something missing. With the pre-commercial procurement process, we weren't able to procure the solution from the suppliers that we'd worked with and co-designed. Next slide, please. So with the help of European funding, we were able to look at a 2-phase multi-supplier framework, which would allow you to pilot and test solutions before rolling out and before any commitment to buy. Next slide, please. It wasn't a short journey. So it started in 2019. We did have COVID in the middle, which again brought its own challenges. But we started off with a PIN notice, which is basically a market consultation to try and understand what kind of solutions were out there. After that, it gave us the information we needed to publish a tender. We received 20 applications, and in phase 1, we awarded contracts to 4 suppliers. Next slide, please. And not only did we have 4 suppliers, next slide, please. The 4 Dublin local authorities all provided test beds. There was 25 ring buoy sensors deployed in each of the 4 Dublin local authorities, and each of those were deployed for 9 months. The way the framework worked, after phase 1, we conducted an evaluation, and the suppliers just needed to pass the evaluation. They needed to be deemed successful. Next slide, please. So for phase 2, any supplier that was deemed successful was allowed to remain on the framework, and it allowed the local authority to then purchase from those suppliers. And the suppliers that we'd worked with throughout the phase 1 process without having to go back out to tender again. This was quite successful, and we received further funding. Next slide, please. So our further funding came from a National Innovation Fund and allowed us to work with 8 local authorities and deploy over 640 sensors across Ireland. Hundreds of ring buoys go missing each year, so it helped us to solve the challenge of quicker replacement times. Next slide, please. So the advantages and the impact of the PPI process. As you'll see on the screen, John Leach was the former CEO from Water Safety Ireland, and his quote here says, "This is one of the most innovative projects in terms of drowning prevention that water safety has ever been involved in. I'm confident that it'll help save lives when the successful systems are rolled out and around the country." The advantages of using a PPI process: it gives you more flexibility when you know what the problem is but you don't know what the solution is. It encourages SME participation. It allows you to pilot test and co-design with the SMEs and with public sectors, so you get a better solution than just buying off-the-shelf solutions that need to be customised and maybe cost more later on. There's a shared risk, shared benefit between the councils and the SMEs. And most importantly, we have the opportunity to trial and test before committing to purchase. Now, this process is not suitable for every type of procurement, and traditional procurement definitely holds its place. But if you are looking to do something new or something different, or you have a couple of different test bed areas that you can trial and test different solutions, this is an ideal, innovative way to procure solutions. And coming back to, I suppose, the horror of procurement, for me, as I said earlier on, innovative procurement should be used as a tool to help de-risk projects, and we shouldn't be afraid of it. Now, to hear more about, next slide please, sorry, David. Now, to hear more about the actual solution itself, I'm going to pass you over to Sean Fox. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Nicola and Alan. My name is Sean Fox. I'm Health and Safety Officer with South Dublin County Council. I'm also the Water Safety Development Officer. Next slide, please, Alan. Next slide, Dave, sorry. Okay, so what was the problem we were trying to fix? Ring buoys were being vandalised and stolen across the county. That was the number one problem we were trying to fix, not necessarily the problem that we did fix. We've got a solution that would help us counter that and ensure that ring buoys were in place when we actually, or a member of the public would actually need them to use them. What other problems did we have? Currently, we were monitoring or checking our ring buoys. We had park rangers going around into our local parks, along the Liffey, along the Dodder, checking that the ring buoys were actually in place. It was a paper-based system, so we had no easy access to real-time data, no easy access to ensuring that the inspection schedule that was in place was actually happening, and nothing to tell us what was happening that ring buoy between the scheduled inspections, the weekly inspections. So if a ring buoy was inspected on a Friday, and if you had a good weekend, like we're forecast to have a good weekend this weekend, hot sunshine, good weather equals alcohol equals vandalized or stolen ring buoys. It's just the nature of the beast. In some areas, as opposed to others where there might be more remote and there isn't a problem. And the solution that we found helped us in those areas too, in areas where we had ring buoys that were left alone all of the time. We were able to look at maybe reducing the inspection schedule on those areas because of this new system. At the time of the project, we had 99 ring buoys. We now have 105. But just to say, at the time of that project, when it started and when I got involved or asked to get involved, it was during COVID. And just looking at the title of today's webinar is to demystify. When I got involved, I had heard of what IoT was, but didn't really understand it. While everybody else was learning how to make banana bread, I was learning about networks like Sigfox, LoRa, NB-IoT, and I suppose lesson learned, which we come at the end. I still don't know how to make banana bread, but I know about these new systems. Next slide, please. So like I said, we have the coordinates. We had the coordinates of all of our 105 ring buoys. Now we're able to show them on a map. The fact that they're green there on that screen, I know they're in place. Okay, so I'm able to go in on the dashboard and see the life-saving devices that we have a duty to provide to members of the public should they get into difficulty in the water are actually available at the time that I took that screenshot for a member of the public to use. Next slide, please. So what solution did we go for? Like Nicholas said earlier, each of the 4 Dublin local authorities were given a different supplier to supply 25 monitor or devices to deploy on ring buoys across the county. The particular company that we were chosen to work with didn't make it to the end. Only 3 of the 4 made it to the final hurdle of the second phase. But we did learn a lot. I learned a lot working with that company, Resure, in the development of what I was looking for in the beginning and at the end. What was our preferred solution? We went with a company called Civic Integrated Solutions Limited. They were working with Fingal County Council, and Fingal County Council worked really well with them, and they developed a very user-friendly dashboard, giving them real-time status of what their ring buoys, like I showed you in the previous screen. And I suppose more importantly, a mobile application to carry out the actual inspections. So we moved away from a paper-based system, which our park range were using, to a system whereby they were able to go out with their mobile phone, do the inspection. It got uploaded to the cloud. I was able to see when the inspection was done and the process that they went through, and I'm going to show you a piece on that later on. So that was our preferred solution. It's a simple paddleboard sensor. Next slide, please. You can see the paddleboard sensor there in the bottom of the ring buoy housing. So the weight of, next slide, the weight of the ring buoy engages the paddleboard, closes the sensor, and identifies that the ring buoy is now in place. Obviously, if the ring buoy is removed, that paddleboard sensor is spring loaded, it releases, and now we get a red dot instead of a green dot like we showed you earlier. Next slide is video. Just before you started there, Alan. Okay, so I took a screenshot of my mobile phone of me carrying out an actual inspection of a ring buoy. So it's going to go through fairly quickly, but I'm going to talk you through it. Before we start, I'm asked to take a photograph of the ring buoy housing and location before I actually do the inspection. So what we're getting our guys to do is we're taking a photograph of the area before they carry out the inspection. They carry out the inspection and they take a photograph afterwards. So I have the before and after photographs, and I also have the steps that the individual takes when carrying out the inspection, as opposed to the previous paper inspection regime where all I have is a tick box to say everything is okay. Please start the video. Okay, so I scan the QR code. I take a picture of the location. Let's say the ring buoy wasn't in place here or was in place there. And now I'm asked, is the ring buoy okay? I go, yes. Is the Oh, it's missing. Okay, so I've identified that it's missing. Is the rope okay? It's no, it's missing. Housing is okay. Location is okay. Did I perform any repairs? I go yes. And I can identify what repairs I carried out. In this case, I replaced the ring buoy and rope. Is a second visit required? No. Put my ring buoy in place. And I take a photograph of the ring buoy in place. Now, it'll be a lot quicker. There it is, saving the inspection to the cloud. It would be a lot quicker if the ring buoy was in place, if the rope was in place and everything was okay. And that was the beauty. You can stop that now. Next slide, please. That was the beauty of the system insofar as that it gave us a detailed copy of the inspection, which I'm going to show you how it looks like on the dashboard here. And it also eliminated paper completely, which the guys on the ground were absolutely delighted with because they visited the location, they went through the process in the mobile phone, and they walked away and they did the next ring buoy. So this is what the dashboard looks like for each individual ring buoy. This location is at the Castle Timon entrance to Timon Park. On the dashboard, I've got an image of the ring buoy in place. This was taken when the sensor was installed. And I've got the exact location of the ring buoy. You've got three options. I've got the details, I've got the routine inspection, and I got the event log. So the next slide is going to show the routine inspection. Next slide, please. So there I can see the frequency of my inspections. I can run a report to see how many inspections have been done this month or this year or whatever period I want. I'm also able to see each of the steps. Is the ring buoy in place? Is the location okay? All of the steps that I went through on the video. Next slide, please. And that'll show me the photograph, the before and after. You can see that ring buoy, it was in place when it was inspected the first initially and at the end of the inspection. So that maybe not very clear to you, but it's given me the before and after photographs. Next slide, please. And this is a dashboard that shows me the what's going on with that ring buoy, how many times this month it has been interfered with, and how many times last month it has been interfered with. Next slide, please. So, what are the impacts? What we're now getting is real oversight of our life-saving devices across the county in real time. It's given me oversight of the inspection regime and to ensure that the guys that are tasked with inspecting these ring buoys are actually doing their job. And there's no shortcuts. The before and after picture tells me that they have been on site when they're doing it. It also gives me historic records of inspection of proof the ring buoys are in place. And this is very important. Should the need arise that there has, God forbid, a drowning in any particular area, I can show, number one, that we have a system in place for inspecting our ring buoys. And I can show that there was a ring buoy in place at the time of somebody getting in difficulty with water. And I can go right back to see, and all that data is there, as opposed to trawling through paperwork that was been submitted to me previously. And again, the real-time data that it was in place at a particular time. It also, a really interesting piece which we didn't identify wasn't part of the objectives of the original project. I'm now able to identify the problem areas. I can engage with local communities or Gardaí. One example was we had a particular issue in Lucan Domain where at the same time every Sunday afternoon around 4 or 4:30, we had a group of teenagers going through the park, removing all of the ring boys. I now have data to go to the local Gardaí and say, we have a problem here. Could somebody, a community guard, be in that area at that particular time? And it did eliminate the problem. We also had an issue with a park in Tala where we had a lot of issues. Again, identified, went in and spoke to TY students, showed them the data, and we've seen a significant impact from that engagement as well. So data, you can't, I always say, back up your problem with data and you will more than likely get a result. Next slide, please. Okay, lessons learned. The original problem, again, the original problem was we were getting ring boys being stolen. This process allowed us to develop a solution to address the original problem, allowed us to try different ideas and different solutions. Next slide, please. Nicola mentioned John Leach earlier, former CEO of Water Safety Ireland, 15 public life buoys stolen every week. And this solution was going to solve that problem. It didn't solve the problem of ring buoys being stolen. It solved the problem that we now know they're stolen in real time. We're getting a text message or an email, whatever we wish, whatever the user decides. Do you want a text message or do you want an email to say you need to act? Most of the guys go by text message because if they're out on the road or they're doing their work, they can go and address the problem. We normally have a turnaround of within 24 hours, except at weekends where it wouldn't be reasonably practical to get somebody up at probably tonight around 9 p.m. or 1 a.m. To go out and replace a ring boy. But we now know where the problem areas are. We're able to put in solutions to solve that. We now know where we don't have to inspect as often because they're more remote, and it's actually reduced the inspection regime on those areas. Back to the collaboration and the working with the different suppliers. It gave us this system, this process gave us the flexibility to try out new ideas. Next slide. The company I was working with was taking literally the prevention piece. Okay, so their initial sensor, if a ring buoy was removed, was giving us these flashing LED lights and a very loud siren, which, hey, in the normal world may deter some individuals, but we felt with, as I said, hot sunshine, alcohol, or whatever kind of shenanigans people get up to at all hours of the night, this might provide a challenge to get every ring buoy flashing and have sirens blaring across a waterway. Next and final slide. So this solution has enabled us to ensure that we've got ring buoys in place if and when required. We're confident that we have a strong inspection regime which we can demonstrate is in place with the data we have now available to us. And the whole process allowed us to experiment with different ideas, different solutions, and pick the one that suited us best. Thank you very much for your time.
That's brilliant, Sean. And Nicola, fantastic deep dive into the Ring Buoy project. Dave, we've got some questions coming through. Do you want to read out a few?
Yeah, sure. No worries. Just the first one, Carrie Brenda. Yeah, the recording will be shared on the Smart Dublin YouTube channel. I'll put the link in the chat after the call. Can the technology track where the stolen ring buoy is?
No, we did toy with that idea at the time. it won't track where it is. It'll track that it's actually missing from the location where it should be.
That was to do with the battery life. So if you put the sensor onto the ring buoy itself, the GPS locator runs down the battery. So at the moment, the batteries have a 5-year lifespan.
Next question from Aidan Quinn. Has there been any conversations around installing a camera at locations that are prone to damage or theft?
We don't have the legal powers to do that. So some of the solutions that were proposed initially did offer camera solutions. So this way it's much more GDPR compliant and easier for local authorities to get off the ground.
And then we have one more question, I think. What does the QR code in inspection used for?
Okay, so the QR code identifies the actual location. So each QR code is unique to that location. So I know when whoever's carrying out the inspection scans that QR code, it relates to the location that they're actually at. So each QR code is unique to each sensor and each ring buoy location.
And we have another one here. In the ring buoys phone application, what about having tick boxes with most common outcome options and action taken? Missing, displaced, broken, replacement needed, and a free text box in the event that you don't have that option listed. It would save a couple of minutes each time.
Very good point. Yeah, I suppose we could go back and talk to our supplier about that. But it hasn't come up as an issue with our users. But certainly it's a good point.
And then what happens if a QR code is damaged?
We can reproduce the QR code you might have seen on the screen, on the initial screen, for each location that the QR code is there as well.
We might wrap it up, Dave, and we move on. Yep.
Sure.
Some great feedback. You're getting some functionality suggestions as well, Sean.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
Which is great. Yeah. Keep going, Dave. Next slide, please. Yeah. So, folks, today was all, like I said at the outset, trying to inspire people based on existing real use cases that are out there as to could this work for your department. So please have a think about that. Give us a shout. This is all about transforming public services, in this case using IoT technology. We have our next webinar is 19th of June, and it's going to tackle the topic of drones. So if it's dull, dirty, or dangerous, then a drone should do it. So in a similar way, drones are being used in amazing ways across the councils to transform services. So the registration link is live, Dave. Is that right? If we share this recording, people will be able to register? Okay.
People can register from today, yeah.
Okay. But also, again, via the respective Dublin Council communications teams, you'll be getting an email to say, please register for this. So, and we'll have guest speakers involved as well. Is there another slide, Dave? And finally, Smart Dublin, we were always publishing blogs about the kind of projects you've heard about today. We do have a newsletter that comes out every quarter with what we're all up to. So please sign up. It'd be great to get the message out to everybody. So thanks so much to Nicola for her insights around innovation procurement, demystifying that whole world, and many thanks to Sean for really taking us out into the field, if you like, as to how this project has transformed his service. Thanks again for everybody for joining, and hopefully you'll join us for the next session in June. Okay, is that it, David? We're good?
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.